Hey guys, it's Alex. By the time I turned 21 years old, my screen print shop did over $1 million a year. And on this video here, I'm gonna show you guys how we did it from A to Z. If you wanna grow your screen print shop, there's only 3 steps to doing it. Number 1, you have to create a reliable acquisition channel, aka a client attraction machine. Number 2, we're gonna install a proven sales system so that you can convert strangers into paying customers. And lastly, I'm gonna show you guys how to buy back your time and remove yourself from the business so that you can focus on the business instead of being stuck within the business. Welcome to part 1, building a client attraction machine. This is how you get predictable leads. Every single business in the world follows these 4 steps. The 4 steps are, first, you begin with traffic. You have to be able to generate traffic, aka more people need to find out about your business. And what traffic is simply eyeballs on your business. The next thing we look at is the sales process. Out of all those eyeballs, how many actually become leads that are interested in buying stuff from your business? That's the sales process. Now, out of all those leads, how many end up paying you money? That's the conversion event. At what point do they actually give you money in exchange for services? And lastly is F, which is fulfillment. For you guys, it's probably going to be screen printing, embroidery, promotional products, etc. The next step in building a reliable client acquisition system is that we have to tie metrics and data into this process here. The first thing that we look at is out of all the traffic, we look at different metrics. The first metric that we look at is out of all the people who see your traffic, how many people actually click on it. Now, to generate traffic, you can only do it in 3 ways. The first way is running paid ads. The second way is doing more outreach, reaching out to more people. And lastly, it's posting more content, so more people find you by seeing your content. Now, to judge whether or not your traffic is working well, we identify the metric as impressions to click. Out of all the people who see your ad, see your pictures, see your message, how many guys click on it? And then after that, out of all those clicks, how many actually opt in and trade their information in exchange for whatever you got, or opt in for more information? That's how we gauge the traffic. What is that percentage? Next, we look at the sales process. Out of all the people who opt in into your traffic, into your ad, into your picture, whatever you posted, if you reach out to somebody, even if you cold call people, out of all those people who are actually interested in getting a quote. So we look at the sales process and we judge the sales process's success based off the opt-in into the quote. Lastly, what we want to look at is what is the closing percentage? Out of all the quotes that we send, how many end up buying? And then lastly, you fulfill the order. How fast does it take you? How much profit do you make? Etc. Now, the name of the game is actually getting the traffic as low as possible, getting it as cheap as possible, and then making the most profit when you sell. The magic happens when the traffic is cheaper than the profit you make. So in a hypothetical example, if you spend $100 to get 1,000 visitors to visit your website, and you know that you have a 1% conversion rate, that means 1 out of 100 people who visit your website end up buying, you know that if you spend $100, it gets you 1,000 visitors. That means if you get 1,000 visitors, you should get 10 sales. And that's the math that we're playing here. But the importance of this and where the real magic happens is how much profit do you make on those 10 sales? And you need these 10 sales to be greater than $100. And the reason why it has to be greater than $100 is because you are spending $100 to get them. If this number has to be profit, by the way, not because we need this to be profit to pay for your ad spend. If you do have this ratio right here is a 1-to-1 ratio. We want to increase this ratio, and there's 2 ways to increase the ratio. This can either go down, so you can run better ads, better targeting, or give a better offer, and for $100, you might get 4,000 visitors, okay? And out of 4,000 visitors, you might get 40 sales. That's one way to do it. The other half of the equation is you can either make them worth more, and to do that, you can cross-sell them, upsell them, or resell them more of the same product. So if you make one sale on a bunch of hats, you can take the logo and put it on a polo and ask them if they want some polos too. And that's what we did. But the goal of the game here is to increase the profit on here to be greater than the cost over here. And again, you can either run better ads, better creative, better offer to get more visitors to click on it, or you can upsell them, resell them, and cross-sell them into more products so that this number is a lot higher. You either make this number higher or make this number lower. That's all you have to do, and that's the first step into building a predictable client acquisition system. Now that you understand what the math is behind building a predictable, reliable client acquisition system, what we want to look at is a hypothetical scenario. Now that you understand what it takes to build a reliable client acquisition system, I'm going to walk you through a hypothetical scenario. Imagine if you spend $100 a day on ads and they get to 1,000 leads. When we look at the system here, we have to be able to diagnose the biggest bottleneck within the system. It's kind of like having 2 automatic presses, but having a tabletop dryer. It doesn't matter how many shirts you print, you only can dry a certain amount per hour. So if you're trying to increase the total number of shirts per hour, you have to change the dryer. So in this case, if you want to increase the efficiency of your funnel, we have to look at the numbers here. In this scenario, we spend $100 on ads. It gets us 100 leads. Let's say in theory, we get out of all the 100 people that see it, 75% of them opt in into getting more information. Out of the people who opted in, you get 50% to get requested quote. And out of the 50% who requested a quote, we have 8% that close. So in theory, in this funnel right here, this gets us 32 sales. With the current numbers right now, we generate 32 sales. $100 gets us 32 sales. Let's say we can only increase each one of these by 5%. Because you're the founder of the business and you're a human, you only have a certain number of hours and money to spend into increasing one of these 3 things. Let's say in theory, each one you choose increases things by 5%. Which constraint would you choose? If you chose to increase the traffic and increase the conversion rate, let's say on your website, you switch some things around and now your conversion rate is a lot higher. More people opt in and actually give you their information. It goes from 75% to 80%. What that gets you is 33 sales. Now, if you want to increase the opt-in rate to quote, what you can do is we focus on 4 different things, but essentially the first one is speed. Let's say we call the leads faster and we get them to request a quote faster. Or let's say we reach out to them more times. We increase the volume in which we reach out to them. We text them more, call them more, email them more. And what that does is it increases it by 55%. This, if you increase this, but keep the rest the same, it increases your sales by 1. But let's say you increase your closing percentage from 8%, increase that by 5% plus, and that gives you 13. Let's say you do that. What happens is you actually get 49 sales. So this one right here gets you 32 sales, this one right here gets you 33 sales, and the last one gets you 49 sales. This is the importance of your closing rate. But more importantly, all 3 of these options would have been great options, but the one that you choose might not have been the best option. So when you work with us, we identify the constraint within your business and we help you skip the learning curve and identify the biggest ROI on your time, money, and effort. So if you build a client acquisition system, the first thing you have to do is be able to generate traffic. Number 2, you have to gauge the system's efficiency. Number 3, you have to troubleshoot the bottleneck within the system to make it more effective. And that's how you increase sales. And what we do is we look at each category and we have a set of playbooks that increase the percentage in all 3. So if you want to get more traffic, you can either increase ad spend or improve the CRO to make the conversion rate a lot higher. If you want to increase the sales process in which you want more people to request quotes, what we do is we improve the communication cadence, so we reach out more times, or we reduce the speed to lead, so we reach out to them faster. Lastly, if you want to increase the closing percentage, what we do is we train the sales team, we help them with follow-up, and we also provide different incentives. So if you close today, X, Y, and Z. This is just a few of the things that we can do right off the bat. But for each part of the system, we have a playbook that outlines 1,000 different things that we could do. So this is how you make your client acquisition predictable, scientific, and reliable. The next thing we have to do is increase the conversion event, and I'm gonna show you guys the sales process that we install into businesses. Okay, let's say you're awesome at generating traffic. The next part is building a killer sales system. The sales system begins after you generate the lead. So the first half of your business is essentially marketing. Getting leads, getting the eyeballs onto your business and getting people to opt in. That's what the marketing does, and that's what our team specializes in, and we can guarantee that because we've done it for so long. The next part of your system is the sales process. So first of all, if you look at the numbers again, we have essentially two steps here. If we look at making money as a bridge in which this person needs to walk over here and then they become $sign. What we break this up to is from the lead to quote, and then from the quote to close. If you're generating leads, if you're running ads and you're getting leads, you check that off. But the next thing you have to solve is, are these leads becoming quotes? If they are, then you move on to the next part. Are the quotes closing? Now, if the lead to quote is not happening, chances are these are the things you have to fix. 1 is speed to lead. Number 2 is volume. Number 3, personalization of the follow-ups. And 4 is availability. So to increase your lead to quote ratio, you have to reach out to your leads in under 5 minutes. So we have to gauge what is the metric that's currently happening. If it's under 5 minutes already, we move on to the next part. Out of all the times the person opts in, how often do you talk to them? You need to follow up with them every day for the first 7 days, AM and PM. So that means in the morning, we text them and call them. At nighttime, we text them and call them. We do that for 5 days in a row or 7 days in a row. And then after that, we do it once a week and then twice a week and then once a month. After that, to not be annoying and increase that volume, every single follow-up has to be extremely personalized, using the name, sending them mock-ups, helping them out. Essentially, you want to reach out to them as if you're giving them $100, because imagine if you came up to a stranger to give them $100, you wouldn't feel annoying. So for you to personalize the messages, you come off as less annoying. The last thing is availability. If someone responds once, you have to call them right there. If they text you, you call. Got it? Text, call right away. The next thing is, once you do this, more of the leads will then become quotes. The next thing you want to look at is, out of all these quotes, how many end up closing? And to increase the closing percentage here, I'm gonna show you guys our exact sales process. All right, so once you optimize this part, we want to optimize the quote to close. The sales process that we installed was this. The sales rep, whoever reached out to them, has to reach out to them really fast. So the moment they opted in for a lead, all these principles apply to this right here. So once they apply as a lead, we push them to get a quote. Once they submit a quote, we push them to follow the sales process. So we want to call them as fast as possible, reach out to them multiple times, personalize it, and reach out to them at any time they respond to you. So increase their availability. But once you start the sales process, the first thing we do is we call them and you just say, hey John, I saw you reach out. Are you still interested in buying shirts, etc. So this part right here is scripted. The reason why step 1 is scripted is because we want anyone to join your business, follow the script, and they can get the baseline details to quote the job. After that, we want to be able to quote the job consistently. What you want to also do next is identify this into a percentage. At what point do you get a hiccup? So if people are getting details, no problem. There's 2 ways to quote. You can have one person do all the quoting. So that means the sales rep grabs all the details, go to that person and get a price, and go back to the sales rep. So there's 2 ways to get pricing. There's 2 ways to quote the job. One, you can have the sales rep collect all the details and go back to one person, and that one person quotes all the jobs. So that way, the sales rep can focus on generating leads and closing deals. Or number 2, you have to standardize pricing so every single sales rep gets the same price every single time in the same way. So one of the 2. You choose as a business owner if you want the person to reach out and then just go back to the quoter, basically have a main quoter, or every single person quotes. It's up to you. What we found was this gets the most effective way. So there's one person who quotes every job. Not only that this person's faster at quoting the job, it's all they have to do so that the sales rep can focus on calling all their leads. So what that looks like is you call this lead, grab all the details, send it to the person, call the next one, you get this quote back, and you call this person back to close the deal. So let's say you get the quote, you get the price. Now we call the person back to present the quote. We also have this scripted. We have this scripted so that we can close the deal in the most efficient and fastest way possible. When we present the quote, all we do is we present multiple options and ask them which one do you want so that they choose one. After they choose one, we ask them, do you want to get anything else? Do you want to get hats with that too or no? They say no, that means they just close the deal by saying no. It's a very simple sales trick and it works every time. Now, the problem that you'll run into next is once you finalize all the details, you finalize the price, you finalize the quote, chances are, if you're anything like any other print shop, when you ask them to pay the whole thing, they're like, oh, I want to see a mock-up. You just say, no problem. For me to feed the art guys and make sure we get this all set up, blah, 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 just charge them $20 for a mock-up. That's it, watch. If you charge $20 for a mock-up, watch how much your conversion rate increases. All we want to do is, you don't even need to charge them for this. It can be $1, it could be free. We just want to get the credit card on file. Get CC on file. Now, once you get this mock-up ready for them, you go back to them and confirm all the details, and then we simply wait for them to say yes, and then we run their card on file, and now we can collect the full pay every single time. And that's how we collect the money. That's the same exact sales process that we run through. Now, that's how you increase the sales every single time. If you want to increase the closing percentage of your team, I'm going to walk into that next. If you want to increase the closing percentage of your team, what we want to do is look at a few different metrics. 1 is the training schedule. 2, we want to look at the incentives on both the sales rep and for the customer. Training schedule, so that means cadence and style. So how often are you meeting with their sales team? How often do you listen to their calls? How often do you have them practice? How often do you guys meet and walk through different metrics? So what we do is on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we look at what's going well, So this person's using this trick, it's working well. We look at the common objections that they're running into. And lastly, we look at the metrics that if this is our goal, we need to close this many deals by Wednesday to hit our goals. Next is incentives for both the sales rep and the customer. And there's multiple different incentives that we run. One is how much cash we collect up front. And we also give incentives to the customer. If you pay today, you get X, Y, and Z. We review these two things to increase the closing percentage. So if your closing percentage is down and you're following the script, what we want to do is look at the training schedule, how often, and the style. What do you guys do during the training? How often do you have your sales rep practice the script, and how often do you review their calls? And how often do you role play? Those three things will increase the closing percentage, but most shops don't want to do it because they're lazy. And lastly, you want to look at the incentives. What is the incentive for the sales rep to close the deal today? What is the incentive for the customer to buy today? Doing these things right here will increase the closing percentage. Now we're going to talk about how to build a world-class sales team. You do it in 3 steps. One, you have to be able to recruit talent. You have to be able to train talent. And lastly, you have to be able to keep talent. To recruit talent, it's a lot easier to hire someone with sales experience than it is to take someone who's an introvert and train them into a salesperson. What most shops do is they find their wife, their friend, someone they knew in high school to become the sales rep. You're gonna fail because this person isn't a sales rep. Most championships are won in the draft. So you're putting yourself at a handicap by recruiting people who aren't even sales reps. The problem with this industry though is if you're good at sales, chances are you aren't selling t-shirts. And that's for 2 reasons. One, the sales rep could sell anything else with higher margins and make more money. Sales is a skill. Once you learn it, you can do it for anything. The sales process is essentially the same. Next, if they're good at sales, you might as well just sell shirts on their own and brokerage out the work. They'll make more money. So 1, you have to be able to recruit talent, people who have sales experience. Number 2, we have to be able to ramp them up and train them systematically. And lastly, we have to be able to keep them because if we train them up, make them so good and they leave, it defeats the purpose. So these are the 3 things that we'll talk about in another video, but essentially you do these 3 things and you follow the script and you practice the script and you generate the leads that they need, you will increase your closing percentage. So the next thing is people ask, what is my ROI if I invest X, Y, and Z? The truth is it depends on these metrics. How often do you do this with the team and how often do you close? And then what is your ad spend and what is your offer? All those things play into getting a better ROI. All right guys, part 3 is to fire and remove yourself from the business. And to do this, we follow a systematic process. The first thing you wanna do is do a time audit. Where are you wasting your time so you can know what parts you can outsource so you can focus on the areas that you love within your business. Number 2 is you have to identify what is your buyback principle. If your shop is doing $1 million a year and you profit $300,000 a year, you can outsource different things than when you're first starting. So you have to identify what is your time worth, and literally if it's that you can hire someone else to do the same job that you're about to do and it's cheaper than your buyback time, you just hire that person to do it for you. For example, if you currently make $100 an hour and you have to set up screens but cost someone $25 an hour to set up the screens, you pay that person $25 an hour. Now, for you to figure out what to hire next, we follow a very systematic process. And we follow it in this process here. We start from here and we go up. The first person you want to hire is someone to help you with admin work. So this is the hire you make. This is the feeling that you're currently feeling, and this is the ownership of that hire. So when you hire them, this is what they take over. The first thing is admin. If you're stuck looking at your inbox, looking at the calendar, quoting certain jobs, and ordering shirts on SNS Activewear, that's the first person you can hire. And the truth is, you can hire someone to take over your inbox, schedule everything in your calendar, quote the jobs, and order shirts for $2 an hour. So if you're doing this work yourself, you're paying yourself $2 an hour to do it. So this right here, you can replace all of it for $2 an hour. That means you can focus on all these other things. More importantly, you can also add lead gen here too. If you're doing any of this stuff right here, inbox, you're reading your email, you gotta remove that. If you're looking at the calendar, remove that. If you're quoting jobs, don't do that. If you're ordering stuff on SNS Activewear, don't do that. If you're doing mock-ups back and forth, don't do it. If you're doing artwork, don't do the artwork, outsource it. You can literally outsource all the artwork for $2 an hour. If you're doing mock-ups, if you're doing artwork, if you're ordering stuff on SNS Activewear, don't do it. It's literally $2 an hour. Hire someone for $2 an hour. Next is delivery. The next hire you wanna make to remove yourself from the business is actually printing shirts. If you're doing the production, you're gonna stop yourself there. You do not wanna keep on doing production, and what you wanna do is systematize your production. So everything you do from setting up screens to printing, to doing the strokes, doing everything else, setting up jobs, etc., that has to be SOP'd so you can train a high school student train someone for $15, $20, $25 an hour to replace you and take care of that for you. The next thing you want to get rid of is delivery, because that means you can sell as much as you want, and since you're the owner, you're probably the best salesperson on the team. So if you can replace this and someone else does all your fulfillment so you can focus on sales all day long, then you can free yourself up. Next, once you hire this person out, what you want to focus on next is marketing. So if you spend all your time doing campaigns, looking at the traffic, split testing X, Y, and Z, you can hire my team or hire someone else to do your marketing for you. What they'll do is they'll split test everything, they'll make sure the opt-in rates are good, they'll get you leads, and you'll make sure you never run out of leads. And that's what hiring a marketing team does. If you run out of leads, and lastly, what you want to do next is hire the sales team, following the steps that I just outlined. Once you train a sales team in here, you will then feel freedom, and what the sales team does is they take care of all the sales and all the follow-up. So if you don't have cash coming in the door, you blame the sales team. But these are the hires you make to remove yourself and fire yourself from your business, and being able to recruit talent to take care of each one of these components is a skill that you must learn, and that's a skill that we'll help you with. So if you're interested in us helping you do all the steps from steps 1, 2, and 3, just book a call down below and I'll walk you through this with your team. I can't wait to talk to you guys, and good luck building your print shop.